So in the world of business intelligence, you're just drowning in raw data, right? But the real question is, how do you actually turn that flood of information into smart decisions? Well, that's where modeling comes in. But here's the thing, not all models are the same. The real trick is knowing which tool to use for which job. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
Okay, so here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll get a handle on what BI models are all about. Then, we're going to really zoom in on analytical models, what makes them tick. From there, we'll put them head-to-head with logical models and then graph models. And finally, we'll pull it all together so you can figure out which one is the right fit for you.
All right, first things first. Let's make sure we're all on the same page here. When we throw around the word model in BI, what are we actually talking about? Because, it's not just some corporate buzzword. It's really the engine that takes all that chaotic noise from your data and turns it into a clear signal you can actually use.
Think of it this way. At its very core, a BI model is basically a bridge. On one side, you've got this messy, raw, totally confusing data. The model acts as the bridge that carries it over to the other side, transforming it into a structured, clear picture. And that's the picture that helps you and your team make way smarter, data-driven decisions.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. These models don't all speak the same language. They each have their own kind of grammar and their own purpose. You've got logical structures, graph structures, probabilistic ones, and of course, analytical structures. For this explainer, we're really going to hone in on comparing those analytical models against their cousins, the logical and graph models, so we can really get to the bottom of what makes each one special.
Okay, so let's set our baseline for comparison. What in the world is an analytical structure model? Well, to put it simply, it's all about the numbers.
Yeah, these analytical models, they speak the universal languages of math and statistics. They're using these really powerful tools, calculus and statistical methods, to answer very specific, number-driven questions about your data.
And this is where calculus becomes super relevant for business. I mean, anytime you're trying to find the absolute best possible outcome, we're talking highest profit, lowest cost, peak efficiency. You're really trying to solve an optimization problem. And that, right there, is the unique power of calculus in BI modeling.
And then you have the other side of the analytical coin, statistics. Analytical models use methods like regression to sift through data, find patterns, and then make predictions based on those patterns. So if you've ever wanted to forecast sales for the next quarter or really understand what drives your customers' behavior, you're playing in the world of statistics.
Okay, so now that we have a pretty good handle on analytical models, let's bring in our first challenger, the logical model. And trust me, the difference between these two is like night and day. You see, a logical model isn't even trying to calculate something or find the best answer. Nope, its entire job is to define the world it's describing. It's all about capturing knowledge by laying out the key concepts and, this is the important part, the relationships between those concepts.
So, here's the big takeaway, the crucial difference. Analytical models, they're for calculation. They're forecasting, they're optimizing. Logical models, on the other hand, are for description. They're defining the structure of a domain, like mapping out all the different parts of a business and how they all connect to each other.
And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. What you're looking at here is called an ontology. Notice it's not calculating student GPAs or forecasting next year's enrollment. Not at all. It's simply a map of knowledge. It visually explains that a teacher is a type of person and a student takes a course, and that course has a grading system. It's defining the world of a university.
Okay, let's keep this ball rolling. Time for our next comparison. How do our number-crunching analytical models stack up against graph models?
This is a fun way to think about it. If a logical model is like a concept map, then a graph model is like a flowchart on steroids. Its whole reason for being is to map out a process, the entire flow of work, every decision, every action, from the absolute beginning to the very end. So again, it comes down to the fundamental question each model is built to answer. An analytical model is asking, what is the absolute best outcome we can get? But a graph model, it's asking, how does the process actually work to get us to an outcome? You see the difference? One is all about the destination, the other is all about the journey.
And you can literally see that journey mapped out right here. This is a classic BPMN diagram that stands for Business Process Model and Notation. It shows a request starting with, say, the college president, then it moves over to the finance department for a budget check, then it goes to admin for approval, and so on and so on. It's a perfect visual map of the entire workflow. Okay, so we've put analytical models up against both logical and graph models, which brings us to the big question, right? How in the world do you choose the right one for whatever BI challenge you're facing?
Well, it really all boils down to one thing. What question are you trying to answer? If your question is about finding the best or optimal result, you absolutely need an analytical model. If you're trying to just define what is what and how things relate, that's a job for a logical model. And if you need to map out step by step how work actually gets done, well, then you need a graph model. It's that simple.
And this brings us to what might be the single most important thing to remember from all of this. These models are not rivals. They're not competing for the same job. Think of them as specialized complementary tools in a complete BI toolkit. A really data-savvy organization knows that you don't just pick one and stick with it. No, you use the right one for the question you're asking to get a truly complete picture of your business.
So, I want to leave you with a question to take back with you. Think about the biggest business challenge you're facing right now. Is it really a question of optimization? Is it a question of definition? Or is it a question of process? Just knowing the answer to that is the first and most important step to picking the right tool, and, ultimately, to finding the right answer. Thanks for tuning in.